HVAC. Heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Can you explain the ventilation part?
Well, the ventilation we can go deep into, but for instance, the ventilation on a central system could be just the fan itself. You know, those systems are designed to have a fan where if you turn the thermostat fan on, the fan will just circulate until it'll run until you shut it off. If you have a higher end thermostat, you can program fan circulation where it'll, depending on the thermostat, it could run 20 minutes out of the hour arbitrarily.
Right. And running the fan does not mean you're running your air conditioner or your heater. You're just running the fan.
Correct.
Basically the blower.
And it can work with that. So you could program your heating and cooling and then have it on a fan circulate. You could have it on fan on, so the fan will continually run even after you maintain the temperature in the house or the heating or the cooling.
Yeah, a lot of times I walk into a home to do an inspection and I notice, hey, there's something blowing around. Okay, so if somebody turned something on before I got here, but I always walk right up to it and look at it. Yep, all they did was they turned the fan on.
Yeah.
And it's usually the realtor that first showed up that's doing this. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, did you turn this on? Yeah, I wanted to turn the heat on. Okay, well, all you did was turn the fan on. Oh, okay. So I go to turn the heat on, nothing works.
Yeah. So. I find a lot of times, because I'll do some home inspections. I have a couple guys like you that'll refer me, and or realtors, and we'll go into the house, and especially in the summer, we'll walk in and I go, it's oddly cold in here. Well, I know they came in the morning, they turned that thing on because there's something wrong.
Yeah.
There's something wrong.
Yeah. So let's talk a little more about thermostats, because a lot of homeowners don't understand how to operate their thermostats. And it's really not complicated. I think what makes it complicated is the new brands that are coming out. Some of the brands that are coming out, like I cannot stand Ecobees. I just think there's too many moving parts there. You got to do too much to get to the desired location. Nest to me is the best one. It's so simple to use, but I'm kind of old school. I like the manual. I like the ones with the manual levers, stuff. The more basic, simple ones with the digital display. Those to me, they're flawless. But the new technical ones, they're a little tricky. And so as far as thermostat, here's a common question. If it's really, really hot out in this California weather in the summer, let's say it's 105 outside, and I'm not home all day, should I just leave my system off?
No.
Why not?
Because by the time you get home, the envelope of that house is extremely hot. And trying to cool the ceiling, the walls, it's going to take a long time. You're much better off maintaining a temperature. It can be a higher temperature. Let's call it 85 degrees. And then if you want 75 degrees, it's 10 degrees. Whereas if you come home and it's 90 in the house, it's going to be much more difficult
to cool it off.
Yeah. I keep my house quite cool. My wife has a home office. I have dogs. She's in and out of the house. So we maintain a more comfortable temperature. Everybody's different with temperatures. But no, I don't think it's a good idea to shut it off unless you have a brand new house and you have insulation in the walls and you don't have that issue.
And you don't have a 30-year-old system.
Yeah.
And an old dinosaur.
Yeah.
I've been to many people's homes where they have these old furnaces. They're just ancient and they're connected to these old AC systems. And I'm like, I just it was working fine yesterday when we turned it on. I'm like, well, okay, but when did you turn it on yesterday? Did you wait till this afternoon before I got here to turn it on? I mean, that's why it's so hot in here. And because the system's so old, it's not going to catch up till probably midnight. And now you're using all kinds of energy. Let's talk about the energy consumption with that. So like Dean said, it's not a good idea to turn your system off completely. You want to set it at temp. I set mine at 78 if it's hot. So that way if no one's home, it's not getting crazy hot like into the 80s and 90s. It's just going to get as high as 78. So when I come home, my sweet spot is 74. So I'm only trying to knock it down just a little bit when I get home. So I'm not straining it. It's not going to run all night trying to do that. So it's really good information right here to not do that. And if you get home and you turn your AC down to 60, it's not going to get any cooler any faster. That is another big myth that a lot of people think of. So
even my wife does that, and she knows. I'll come home, she'll put it to 60 degrees. I want it quicker. I said, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
I have a variable speed system in my house.
Right.
So what it'll do is run at lower speeds when you're close to your desired temperature. So that'll save a lot of energy. So I don't feel as bad if I'm running it at a lower temperature. The big problem I find is summertime, because I get these calls. It worked fine yesterday, and today it's not working. Well, today it's 105 degrees. I know the questions to ask. Oh, you just got home. Yeah, I just got home. It's 5 o'clock. It's at 90 degrees in the house. They didn't have it on all day. They turn it on. Well, it can only, the temperature inside, can only be a certain degrees less than the temperature that it is.
Right.
So the air that's going to come out to the air that it is inside, there's a rule of thumb with that.
Right. Like HVAC, there's many, many layers of, different things it has to have to work right. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, there's just many layers to stuff. So
yes.
Don't, like the airflow is number one. So if you're taking all this hot air and trying to throw it into a cooling mode, it's not going to work right. And you might get icing from that. Can you get icing from that?
Well, you can if you have restriction.
Yeah.
But, it's an absorption system. We're absorbing the heat. And the machine outside, if it's dirty, if it's sitting in the sun, all these things, work together, from the filter to the airflow.
Yeah.
We can go on and on
you
about
You need the perfect storm.
Yeah.
Does your dog pee on your air conditioning unit outside all the time? Does it corrode it away? Don't let your pest pee all over your outdoor unit. Not a good idea.
We like it.
Oh yeah, they'll be calling you to come replace it. Dean loves it. By all means, Dean says let the dog lift his leg anytime he wants.
I'll tell you, a big issue is the gardener. The gardener, the machines on the side of the house or on the back of the house, and he uses his blower. My guy does it, and he blows the dirt right into that condenser, and you can't see it.
Right.
You can't see it, but you're creating a problem. That's why the maintenance is so
That's
important.
a whole other rabbit hole.
Whole other rabbit hole.
Gardeners.
You got it.
I'm not going to go there right now. All right. So let's see. Let's talk about what you offer for recommended service.
Yeah.
So what should a homeowner expect if they call you to say, hey, you know what? My home inspector, John, told me that I need to have regular service done here.
Yeah.
What are you going to tell them?
That's a good question. So I'm very big on maintenance, not just for air conditioning. I'm big on it for my automobiles, my toys.
Sure.
So my toys being like, off-road, water, boat.
Mopars.
All that stuff, you got to pay to play. But as far as air conditioning goes, a lot of people think they're going to put a brand new system in. They never have to worry about it. Just the opposite. A new system, I would recommend that you do more maintenance. If you got a 25-year-old unit, how much money do you want to spend on that? At some point, you're going to need a new unit. But a basic maintenance is, for us, one, we replaced a filter. 2, we check the heating and cooling. 3, we'll check airflow. 4, we'll check the drain line. So it's a lot of inspections, loose connections, checking amperage of motors, checking a microfarad at a capacitor. These are indicators that potentially you could have a problem.
Did you say ferret as in the animal?
Yeah. Well, I don't, yes, maybe it's spelled different. That's a good question. Yeah, maybe, it's spelled different. So to test this, for instance, like it'll say on that, plus or minus 3. So if we're, 5, it'll still work, but that's an indicator at some point that's going to fail. So if you're doing a good, proper maintenance, all this should be checked and written down to monitor. Doesn't mean that's part of the maintenance to fix it. But these are indicators that you could have potential problems.
Right.
Yeah, checking
it's being
coils.
Proactive.
Yeah.
And so it's proactive approach to doing it. And I'm all about being proactive in everything.
Then there's filter changers. That's not maintenance. I see these crazy, these crazy things, $69, $89. I had a gal who retired that worked with me, and she would tell our customers or people that called in, not our customers, they said, well, this company's charging $89. And she would say, look, they're going to come for $89, but they're not leaving for $89.
Yeah.
And, I get it. I get the whole business
marketing.
side of it. Yeah, I try not to do that. We try to be fair. But when we do a thorough inspection or a one-time maintenance, then we can tell you what the issues are. If you never want to address the issues, there's really no point to do maintenance with me. I'm just a filter changer.
Right.
So if you want to address the issues, unfortunately, most homeowners have issues.
Yeah.
We could go in your system, and I'm going to show you a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Here's a tip for home buyers, potential home buyers. During your inspections, if the sellers are telling you, oh, the system just got serviced, first thing you ask for is a receipt. I guarantee you they won't have it.
Good.
So then here's something I run into a lot. So after I let the listing agent just blow herself up and look like a fool, I'm like, oh, so you just had it serviced when? Oh, they said it was like a week ago. I'm like, okay, great. Come here, let me show you something. See that filter up there? Look how dirty it is. You're going to tell me an HVAC company came through here and serviced your equipment and left that? Either they just robbed you, or that guy's just plain out incompetent. So where's the receipt? I just leave it like that. Bye. Okay, I'm going to go do something else now. You guys work that out.
Well, you're a much better home inspector. Unfortunately, a lot of homeowners, they blame things on you guys. And
all the time.
Yeah, every one of your report, and I feel like I'm one of the guys with one of the older inspector who passed away,
right,
who told him 25 years ago, look, you guys need to put on here that you need to consult with an electrician, a plumber. You're just doing the basic stuff. There's not enough hours in the day for you to find everything.
Right.
And I'll tell you, most people do not. They don't want to pay the extra cost.
Right.
And then they'll call us and say, oh, well, everything was fine. And, the inspector was here. And I said, yeah, do you have his report? Yeah. Well, it says right here, you should have consulted. This is an issue. He wrote all this.
Yeah.
And they don't. Sorry, homeowners.
Yeah. Listen to what I tell you. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, we're just trying to help you out. That's the purpose of the inspection, is to guide you in the right direction. If you need an HVAC specialist, we're going to tell you. Electrical specialist, we're going to tell you. Same goes for the roof and the foundation and the plumbing.
And I'll
That's
help
what we
people
do.
on the phone. Anybody can call me. I may not be able to speak with them right away, but I know you've called me in the past. Other people have called me. You can send me a report. I can look at it and verbally tell you. But, there's a fee. There's a fee for a contractor to go out and inspect or even look at a report and tell you what, what we recommend.
Everything costs money.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Okay, so back to the recommended service. One thing I forgot to ask you was when you say you're checking the heating and the cooling, you just running the system, checking the temperature. You're talking about the splits.
Yeah, we're talking about the splits. Again, there's a rule of thumb with that.
Yeah.
The new equipment, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
I mean, we can, it's called TD, temperature difference. Mm-hmm. And if we see the TD is low, for instance, if the air coming out is 80 degrees and the temperature in the house is 90 degrees, mm-hmm. that's an indicator there's a problem. So the rule of thumb that I like to work with, 18 to 22 degrees.
That's the same one I use.
Yeah. So sometimes people say, oh, it's blowing really cold, and we'll put the thermometer, and it's 38 degrees coming out.
Right.
That's too cold.
Yes.
That means that coil that could be 20 feet away, that temperature could be 32. What happens at 32, John?
Something gets colder, freezing.
You got it. So that's an indicator, and that could be it's typically from, a low charge. Doesn't mean it can't be a overcharge, plug filter. There's so many things.
Yeah, it has to be gone through.
Yeah.
It has to be a step-by-step process to troubleshoot it.
Yeah.
And, honestly, I'll be honest with you. I do try to troubleshoot systems when I'm there without equipment. I just do my best. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I check. First thing I do is I like to check the filter, and then after that, I'm gonna then I'll turn the system on. Then I'll get in the attic and do that part of the inspection. Then I'll just kind of let's see what happens. Is this thing cooling down or is it heating up? Yes or no? Is there there's no blow coming out? There's no flow coming out? Like it's really low flow. Like it's just not blowing my hair back, which I think it should be. So there's a lot of
issue.
Yeah, a lot of things I look at.
Airflow.
Airflow.
Number
Airflow
one.
is number one.
And number one. And a lot of people think, oh, we need a little spritz. We need a Freon. We need a charge.
Just need some Windex.
Well, yeah, if you don't have the proper airflow, you can't check those things.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Let's see. And cost. What's the typical maintenance cost on a scheduled maintenance?
So we have a program, if you're in our area and we've already checked the system out, we have a maintenance program. It's called the club membership.
The club membership.
Yeah, and that's $24.95 a month. We bill it monthly.
Okay.
Now we're one of your people, and it gives you 2 maintenance visits a year. Mm-hmm. It gives you priority service and scheduling. It also gives you a discount on repairs. So we actually have a chart, and we live by this chart. So you have a street rate price and then a club membership price. And if something needs to be done, the capacitor, a motor, deep cleanings, which should be done more often than you would think, then you would get that discount. Because what happens for us is in the middle of summer, we get a lot of calls.
Yes, you do.
So I have to be selective. The phones are ringing off the hook. So it's important to me that I take care of my customers first.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, people that call and they go, oh, I live down the street. The unit's 3 years old.
I'll pick you up.
Yeah, I pick you up, right. I've had that before, by the way. I had that. It just happened last week.
I'll buy you lunch.
Had that too. The issue is the person that installed it obviously didn't do something right, or it's something simple. I just don't have time. I want to take care of my customers.
Right.
So if you're my customer, I will take care of you. If I upset you, I'm sorry. You can call me. We'll work it out. But 9 out of 10 times, we're going to take care of it for you. It doesn't mean we can fix something on the spot.
Right.
So $24.95. If you just called me, John, Dean, hey, I need a maintenance on the house, a one-time maintenance. You've never been here.
I just asked you for that a week ago.
Yeah. So a one-time maintenance for us to go through. We do a safety inspection. We check the whole thing out. We charge $265. That's the first one. Then we get you on the club membership if you want.
Right.
If you don't want that, and then you just want to call us yearly after we checked it, we charge $165 if you're in our neighborhood. And you hear I keep saying in our neighborhood. It just took me 40 minutes to get to North Hills the other day on the 405, and I couldn't get off the freeway. I was stuck on the freeway. I could not get over. I was stuck.
Dude, I don't blame you.
Going north.
Yep.
And I had to get off at Roscoe. It took me 40 minutes from Burbank.
I stopped taking any appointments earlier than 10:30. Anything going down the 405 towards like Santa Monica or any there, it's just not worth it. I'll sit in traffic for an hour and 30 minutes, and then I don't mind the drive back. Typically, everywhere I go is an hour, but man, an hour and a half, I start losing my patience. Yeah. And I'm like, I could be doing other things right now. It's just not worth it. So I try to tell the customers, I'll be there at 10:30.
That's why I try to service our area, which is typically the valley.
Yep. That's cool. All right. Interesting. So the takeaway from what we just talked about with the maintenance is being on his radar already is going to get you service quicker if you have an emergency, because when it's 110 degrees out and your system fails, you're going to want him there like within 10 minutes, and it's probably not going to happen that fast. But I'm just saying, if you're on the maintenance program and you're one of his regular customers, you get priority. That's worth something. Because when you really need it, you're going to need it. And by the way, would most companies charge more on an emergency call?
You know, I don't want to talk bad about other companies.
You don't have to say names.
But they...
you don't have to generalize.
I will say a lot of... We won't even call them companies. We'll say people, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to take advantage.
Yeah.
And look, they're entitled to make money. I get it. It's an emergency.
Yeah.
That's why I'd rather have my customers and I take care of you all year. And when you have a problem, I take care of it, and you pay me the proper fee to do that.
Yep.
And then if you have an issue, we take care of it for you.
All right. So $24.95 a month does not cover replacing your system.
No.
All right. Just want to be clear on that.
Yeah. It's just under $150 a call.
Right.
But you get the priority service scheduling. You get discounts. I think there's a good value, and I give you the filter. So we take care of the filter.
Right. So a little bit more about thermostats. One thing I noticed with a brand new home buyer walking into a flipped house. Oh, my flips are my favorite. Flips are my favorite. Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. But anyway, they walk in, they see all these shiny new appliances and all these LED lights everywhere and white paint for miles. And they see this really cool looking Nest thermostat. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And then I open the furnace closet door, and the furnace is like 30 years old. That's a buzzkill right there for me, because now I got to tell them that. By the way, you got some chrome wheels on your 1930, furnace.
And it wasn't restored.
Right. It's pulling air from the crawl space.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So understand that, home buyers, if you're looking for houses and you see a fancy thermostat, that's great, but you got to look into the rest of that system. Ask, hey, did they replace the whole system, or do I just have chrome wheels on it? That's what I call it, chrome wheels. Chrome wheels make everything look better. Would you say, on all the old hot rods?
I agree.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, everybody. New thermostat does not mean new system, especially when you're buying a flipped house. All right, here's a question I have directly for all the manufacturers out there of HVAC systems. Why are the mini split wall units so ugly? Why can't they make those look better? Why can't they enclose them somehow so they're not? You know what those remind me of? They remind me of the you walk into the old grocery stores or the meat markets, and they got those blowers that blow down so the flies can't get in.
Yeah.
That's what they remind me of.
Yeah.
Why are they so ugly?
Well, there's different manufacturers that make different ones. There's it looks like glass on the front. There's also,
I haven't seen those.
okay, well, so they have those.
Yeah.
There's also a low wall. So it's not up high, it's a low wall. It looks like an old style small wall heater through the wall. They have those.
I haven't seen that either.
But think of it logically. You have to have a coil.
Right.
So that coil in your central system, you have to have that coil. You have to have a pan to remove the condensation water. You have to have electrical. You have to have a blower motor.
Yep.
So I
Got to go somewhere.
I think they did a pretty good job personally with them. I like mini splits. Ductless split. They're super energy efficient.
I just don't like the way they look.
Neither does my wife.
For the room, yeah.
We go in Seattle where my daughter lives. We went and got an Airbnb, and they had one in every room. And it looked like shit, man. They had piping and covering on the inside.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
And, it passed inspection. I'm sure it was a brand new townhome that we rented, and they worked great, and the house was cool, but it looked hideous.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to put one on a wall, if I put a face just around the front and the sides, would I be okay? Because, you got to have the top and bottom open, right?
Yeah. I mean, probably not. I mean, what do you mean a face?
Like some kind of a wood cover, maybe that can just make it look a little better.
Do you remove it when you use it?
No.
You have to have the top open.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Leave the top open and the bottom open. Just cover the face and the sides.
Well, maybe you could do something with the face, but the bottom has to open.
Right.
To allow, there's a louver.
That's why I'm saying leave the top and bottom open.
I guess you could. That's right. You're a framer. Sure, John.
Kind of like a window treatment. Yeah. Just around the sides.
I'm sure you could. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could.
I might have to, because I was thinking about...
It'll disappear. If you have a little office and you're only in there all day and you're not in the main house, I think it's a great idea to put a mini split. You'll save a lot of money.
Absolutely. No,
you'll be comfortable.
Yeah. I agree.
And if you do it right, it's not that bad. If you run the piping right through the back side of it, then you don't have to have exposed piping inside.
Do they only come in white?
No, that's why I would say everyone I install is white. Most people don't want to spend more money to put in these really nice, slick looking ones. The whole idea is, to have a system that's inexpensive that'll cool a room or two.
Well, what if I want to get a fancy looking one? Where do I look for that?
They have ones that look like your monitor here.
Oh yeah.
Go to Mitsubishi. So I'm a Mitsubishi dealer.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll look that up a little later.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Yeah. So anyway, Mitsubishi, they have some fancier ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but when you see the price, you're probably not going to want to do that.
So you're a Mitsubishi dealer?
I am.
Okay.
And American Standard.
American Standard. Okay. How do you feel about the other brands?
Look, every manufacturer has a warranty. If you do your own research, you'll find that one Mitsubishi is the best mini split out there. And American Standard Train has been rated #1 Consumer Report in all the independent groups that have done the testing. Every manufacturer is fine. Okay, there's nothing wrong with Lennox, Carrier. It's typically the installation.
Yeah, but what about the ones with no name on them?
With no name?
No brands.
Yeah.
You don't put those in, do you?
No, I only install those two.
Where do those come from? Where does somebody find that unit with no brand on it?
So I'm not going to give a plug for a company.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to. But there is a company. It's the biggest manufacturer of air conditioning in the world, I believe. So if a Bob is listening to me and I made a mistake, forgive me. But they have 3 or 4 different names, and they also have equipment that you could put your own name. I can put Kilowatt on their equipment. So there's no brand on it. If you look deep into the manufacturer nameplate, you'll see who made that. So there is a manufacturer. You're just not seeing who it is. And there's some off brands, and it may work. But what if you need a part?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the downside to walking into a house and finding that? Hey, look, good luck finding parts for this.
I get it. I get them mostly on the ductless mini splits. Some brand that's made overseas. I'm sure it worked fine, but I can't get a part. Those parts aren't interchangeable. On a central system, you may be able to get a motor, but the way our industry is going, you're going to need to use that part from the manufacturer.
Right.
A generic motor is a generic motor, but we're getting into equipment now with variable speed. You can't use a generic motor.